Sue. Welcome to Fireside Chat. I'm here with my very honored guests. I have Tucson Knight. I have, I have Rahman Lewis, Deborah Williams, and I have Rep. Donovan McKinney. So glad to have you all. Thank you so much for being here.
You're
welcome. And we're just going to chat.
For sure.
So absolutely. Deb, if you want to talk a little bit about how you kind of came to meet everyone.
Sure, I will. Well, how I came to meet everyone is I met Mr. McKinney here at not a job fair. Yes, it was a job fair with Global Empowerment.
Yep.
And as soon as I seen him, I'm like, yes, here's my connection, because I've been looking for my connection. And
so glad.
I went over and introduced myself and let him know that what I do. And then we met at coffee hour.
Networking, man.
Yes, we met at coffee hour, and I was like, okay, I said, okay, Senator McKinney, I need your help. I need you to help me do what I need to do for the youth. And so we immediately connected,
So glad.
me, him, and Ragman, and they introduced me to Mr. Knight. And Mr. Knight welcomed me right on in, and so that's how this all got started.
Because we all care about our young people, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, they're our future, and it's not easy being young, so we got
That's
to
true.
comfort them and give them support. Because I don't think I'd make it one day. It's like a 14-year-old today. I wouldn't even.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, Deborah, if you want to talk a little bit about your business.
Well, my business is First Steps to Business, and what I do is I provide basic skills training and ethics training for youth 14 to 24 years old. And right now it's young men, and it is very interesting. They process different, and so I am so excited to be doing this for these young men because it has opened up a whole lot of doors.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. I think
Yes.
you've been finding how much people can help you, and you're just thinking, well, I guess I should say something. Maybe they can help you, and then you went to that place where that lady was just podcasting. What do you need? What do you need? I know people. So it's true. And I think we genuinely feel good helping others.
Yes.
It feels good, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Absolutely.
It definitely
Wow.
does.
So how do you feel working in this incredible milieu at the legislative?
So yeah, it's definitely an experience. So prior to this, I was technically already with the government, working for Health and Human Services, doing disability cases.
Yes.
So I'm kind of used to the service aspect of it. So that really didn't change. I will say in this role, I feel a little bit more like I have more direct impact on people.
I like that.
So it's definitely giving me an opportunity to connect people with the right resources, like Miss Williams, to get stuff rolling, and also just service a lot of needs. So
Wow. And your company is caught up.
Yes,
Right? That's awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about the name? Because that's kind of cool.
yeah, isn't that? Yeah, it started. Actually.
Here's a water because you're thirsty.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
It kind of started. I came up with this idea of I wanted the mentees to kind of reach back and help.
I love
each other,
that.
So it's like
I love that.
instead of, and then of course everybody be like, our biggest thing is like catching them up academically, morally, and intellectually, one kid at a time. And then so the original idea though stemmed from me wanting to have a Big Brother type program.
Exactly.
And so it's like, hey, catch this kid, come, take him by the bootstraps and bring him up. But it didn't work out that way, and it just kind of evolved into we want to catch, because everybody always think caught up is bad. You get caught up, you caught up in something bad. It's like you're being caught up in something more, in something great. And meeting Miss Williams, when she came out. Well, first the biggest thing is it's so crazy because I've been with my guy here in state rep. We've been knowing each other for so long, and to think he was one of the very people who helped me start Caught Up. So I don't know if everybody knew that. He was a part of the original conversations, and
That's
so
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Actually,
It's a blessing.
the order here is perfect.
I know, it's a blessing. It's a blessing.
And so usually when somebody sends somebody to me, it's always I'm like you get a lot of different people that are brought to you on a daily, right?
Right.
And I was telling Ms. Williams that, like, you get a lot of different meetings and stuff. And a lot of times I don't want to take these meetings. I mean, I could be doing something else. I
Right.
be mentoring. I ain't got time for the foolishness. And then when she came in, I'm like, okay, here come my
Okay.
meeting, right?
She looks cool, right?
And then she said, like, I want to start immediately. I'm like, is she going to start?
Nobody says this.
No,
So.
right. I thought it was a big conversation. She got this grand idea. I never
She
see her
does.
again. And then she showed up the next week. Not
Wow.
only has she showed up every week, the kids are like, they love her. And also, now the way she's expanding helped us do things that we wanted to do for years, like somebody that provided us food every week. So she got her sister to be able to do that. So it's like, man, I truly appreciate the connection. Of course, it's always my guy, the state rep. Give me a bone and show me. You can't go wrong with that,
No,
So.
it's power, isn't
Yeah.
it?
It is.
It's absolute
It is,
power, and
man.
It's used for good.
Yeah.
So how did you meet? Rockman, how did you meet?
So I met Rockman in college. So we was at University of Michigan together. He's a year younger than me. And, I was always like a jovial guy growing
Yes.
up. And anybody who knows me, I'm like, the big teddy bear, everybody come. And,
Absolutely.
I like to make people feel welcome, no matter who they are.
Absolutely.
And I like to get to know them. And Rockman kind of saw that. And, we were living in the same dorm. And he was like, yo, like, can I hang out with you? I'm like, yeah, more than, dude, come on, bro. And it was just like cool ever since, man. And he been there every step of the way when I first ran for office, and then now, like, because when you first run, you don't always win. T-Knight know about that. He ran before. You don't always win, but you got to stay dedicated and committed.
Yeah.
And
For the right reasons.
yeah, exactly, and it's definitely a calling.
Yes.
And T-Knight and I, we go way back. We always been doing it for the kids. He was like working with the mayor's office at one time, and then became like the dean of students at a couple of schools. And I've had like youth mentorship programs, and I was always traveling because I run a school tour still called Young Minds in Transition that started back in 2014 with myself. I don't know if you remember DJ BJ and Stu, who's on the radio. They're on Hot 10. Used to be 102.7. Now it's 107.5. And they used to have their own radio station. And I told myself that when I graduated from college, when I came back to Detroit, because I'm born and raised in the city, that I wanted to make a difference.
Yes.
And I told BJ, DJ BJ, who's like, man, he has his Instagram followers, man, it's like hundreds of thousands of people. And this dude is well known throughout the whole city and throughout the state, throughout the region. And I asked him, I was like, yo, let's go make this difference, right? Let's use your, popularity. Let's use my degree from the University of Michigan, and let's bring this thing together, and let's do a school tour that it's honored and like pretty much ran by young people in their younger 20s. And a lot of the kids in the neighborhood who go to middle school, high school, they still hit us up saying, yo, we remember when you guys came to our school. And we have a message of just not bringing the hip-hop artists, but we have a message of saying, hey, if you stay in school and if you honestly follow your dreams, anything's possible. And so we wanted the students to realize, like, you can go this route, you can go an entertainment route, you can go the college route, you can go be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
But it's more than just being the person that's in the front of the camera.
That's true.
There's so many opportunities and careers that are behind the camera.
Exactly.
Right.
And so, we're talking about from photography, videography, we're talking about from like marketing to accounting to even like stylists, engineering, like being the lawyer that's, writing these contracts and helping these artists, make their money. Like there's so many opportunities in the industry when it comes to like entertainment that we don't necessarily give our kids. We think entertainment and we're telling our kids like, no, don't want to be like that. I'm like, actually, you can make more. You can be a songwriter. You can make more than the artists themselves.
Wow.
Yeah. So like just having those opportunities and letting folks know what it's all about. And it's just great.
It's a great city,
Yeah.
Detroit. We're so so blessed to
Yeah.
be in Detroit because I feel like Detroit really has a spirit, and it's kind of Detroit versus everybody. I love that because it's true. Like, we want to prove ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to have this opportunity with the draft and everything like that. The people are seeing our
That's
city.
true.
And I'm seeing their comments, like the news, they interview them and they're all like, wow, like, look at this. This is awesome. I didn't know it'd be so welcoming and so cool. And it's true because there's a real renaissance and we want that absolutely.
Yeah.
Like people spend money, Little Caesars Arena, like it's like $1 billion project. That's the kind of thing we want.
That's true.
Right. So do you have any dreams of something that you'd like to create?
I like to create a pipeline of students and like just youth and adults too. It's for the adults as well. But like I want everybody to be able to, because I'm a big believer in God and I'm a big believer in reading the scripture. And the scripture says you write it down and make it plain.
I love it.
Right? And so I use that line every time I have a chance to talk to a group of youth or a group of audience. And the whole goal for me is like we all second guess ourselves every day as an adult now. Like we might not understand what we're doing subconsciously, but we have to keep going. We have to keep pushing ourselves. We cannot deny ourselves like from greatness, what God-given talents and abilities that we are provided with. We have to continue to use that for the betterment of our society. And so, I just want to have an opportunity to like coach our youth, and that's what Caught Up is all about. That's what Ms. Williams is doing. Rockman is doing his job, is to ensure that, hey, you have an opportunity to be something bigger than yourselves.
Right.
Yes.
And it's not about you at the end of the day. It's about serving the Most High and then more importantly, serving his people.
Yeah.
And that's it.
It's like they may not realize that his vision is greater than anything they could ever dream.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, look at you.
Exactly. No, this is a dream come true. A dream come true. Like, I've got knocked down. See, Knight was there. Rockman was there. We've got knocked down as young people, but it's a blessing.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like an opportunity that, and we say to ourselves, why not us?
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
Why not us? Because, you got to start, right? Just start, take that one step. You don't have to see the whole staircase, just the first step.
Yeah.
But I believe, too, it's a lot of being able to show them because, I've been doing this now with Mr. Knight for about 2 months, I would say. And I'm talking to the young men, and, they looking at me like, yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. Like, whatever she's talking about, it's all good. But then when I took them on this field trip, they went to a creative content center. Wow. And they got a chance to see business in action, right?
Yeah.
Like, the girl walked in, and I was like, here go another partner. I was like, yes, Lord, thank you.
Absolutely.
Because she walked right in, welcoming them, and she was like, so what you want to do? And he said, when I want to do real estate. And she said, okay, you want to do real estate? So I'm finna teach you how to be an inspector, and you're going to learn how to look around and find the cracks in the walls and inspect it. Wow. And then I'm going to teach you how to do blueprinting and notary, and then now you're going to notarize different housings when people are closing. And not only that, my boyfriend, he does flooring and wall, and you going to follow us, and you finna learn how to do all of that. So when you get to be in real estate, you already know how to do all of this. And the other young man, he was like, well, I want to do clothing. And then she was like, okay, I know somebody who do clothing, and you're going to shadow them, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do that, and you're going to... So I think their minds opened up at that moment. It was like no matter what I had said to them for those 8 weeks, they wasn't getting it until that day, right? Yeah. And they was like, wow, we can do all of this. Right. And then she had a podcast, and she was just showing them, like, no, I'm going to teach you how to set up this podcast, because guess what? You can make $200 just coming in here learning how to operate a machine. And so we asked the boys, we was like, so what? She said, I want y'all to come back next week and do a podcast, and what would you do it on? And they said COG, and we all both looking at them, and we was like, so what does COG mean? They was like, Christ over God, community over gays. We was like, yes, like they got this. So now another door has opened, another partnership, and God sends his people. Like, I thought doing this, because it wasn't going to end up like this, honestly. But the connections, like we worry about trying to connect everything when God has already connected it, right? True. I met him, and then he sent me to Mr. Knight, and then I took them to a field trip, and now they have another door open. So we just have to follow the vision.
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
And as long as we follow the vision, then it all
It's
comes
kind
together.
of unfolding for us, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
And that's,
yes,
and it's beautiful because we have gratitude the whole way,
exactly.
you know, and
Exactly.
so that it's kind of like he just gives us more.
Yeah,
He
true.
do, he do.
He's just like you have no idea what I have in store for you.
Yeah, so,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's great that you know, if they have faith, that they can see, you know what, this is real.
yes,
This,
Yeah.
you know, this was an
Yes.
idea. This was a dream,
yes,
right?
yes.
And
it-
so,
yeah,
what's
they
your dream?
they see it now, and then when I went back and talked to them, like they were so like now they appreciate me. Like
Yeah.
I could see the difference. It was like. Yes, because one of them was like, well, before I didn't really want to do business. I was kind of thinking about it, but that field trip just opened me up. Like now, no, I am definitely gonna do it, and it's a sight to see them now so excited. And I was like, take advantage, guys, of these resources. It take us years to build these kind of resources. Y'all just had a whole door open.
Absolutely.
Don't
Yeah.
let it slip by.
Yeah.
Take advantage of it.
And that message, we have to be persistent in that message because what happens a lot of time growing up in the inner city or even neighboring cities, you get around people, whether it's family members, your friend group, that might not have the same vision for you
Yeah.
or, you know, the same mindset of what's attainable or what's possible.
So true.
And so, you know, you might get beat down a little bit or put down in terms of like, what is your real actual vision for yourself
Right.
and your dream? And I know a lot of kids come to me and they're like, you think I can really do this? I'm like, what you speak over our youth is like so impactful. You might not think they're listening. They're absolutely
They
listening.
really are.
And they remember. I remember what my teachers have told me. Some of them told me I couldn't make it. A lot of them told me I could, which was great. But you know, we all find our own way. Nobody's perfect, but we have to keep preaching that positivity and spreading that message.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite quotes is, out of my favorite author, her name is Ellen White.
Mm.
She says, higher than the highest human thought can reach is God's
Wow.
ideal for his children.
That's beautiful.
That's
Wow.
deep.
Higher than the highest human. So I always like, sometimes just kind of share that with them. Like, you know what? You can't even imagine.
Exactly.
You can't even picture
No.
what is in store for you, you know. And I think it's like important of just explaining to them, like, you know, you can derail off of this by doing the silly stuff, by doing the foolish.
Right.
You know, so you gotta find your way, like stay focused, and you know, everything will open up for you. And so I think it's great, you know, to have people out there that does this type of work and
Yes.
loves it because, you know, our young people, like you said, being the young people these days, it is just tough.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
And it's so many different distractions. From,
Yeah.
I've never seen it. You know, I'm like, I just know. I mean, I just know it wasn't as many distractions when I was this younger. But
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I feel for them. You know, and
Me
they have a
too.
lot of influences, a lot of different things that they go through. That I think we have to like really address. And so it's like I said, it's a godsend to have people that care, want to give out their time. You know, their funding. You know, their money. To work with them. You know, that's important, and we need more of that.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Is there anything that you guys have, like you might kind of think about, this might be something cool that we could launch or anything like that? Like we could just, is there anything that, you know, kind of would be nice to create and then we could come here and we can put the word out?
Well, what I would like to see happen from this is, you know, people always say, you know, when you're doing workshops, you're supposed to do a call to action, you know, and I'm like, okay, here we go with the call to action. My call to action is to have businesses partner with us
Yes.
so that I could teach these youth online, because that way I can reach more, but I also know that they need that in-person training.
Yes.
And the in-person training is very, very crucial because then they can see it. They can feel it. And they need the socialization. It has been taken away from them. They honestly need to be out doing things. So if businesses could partner with me where I can send them to these businesses and make sure that they're getting the training that they need, that is what I would love to see happen.
Mm. Amen.
So how do we get involved in get them involved in maybe making a difference with political, like how do you get them involved in like voting when they're able to? And
Yeah.
do you have any
So
ideas
so
about-
we changed the laws in Michigan, right? So we're probably one of the most progressive when it comes to voting laws.
I'm glad to hear it.
And so, I know T Knight dealing with, those juveniles, you as well working with those juveniles. A lot of folks have been told when they come out of prison that they can't vote. That is not true at all in the state of Michigan. Actually, you can be in jail and still vote in this state.
Wow.
As long as you're not serving out a felony if you're not in prison. So you can be in jail waiting
Lots of
trial
people.
and still be able to vote, right? And
Yeah.
so
Okay.
in this state, we have what is called no reason absentee voting as well. So you don't need a reason to
That's right.
get an absentee ballot. We have 9 days early voting in this state,
Wow.
which started back in November's election. So now this year for the 2024 cycle,
9 days.
like there's really no excuse you can vote on the weekend. And then we have same day voter registration.
Wow.
So you can register to vote on election day and still vote on election day, same day,
It's incredible.
Wow.
which is unbelievable.
Wow.
And we also did for the youth, 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds can pre-register to vote.
Wow.
Oh, that's
A
awesome.
lot of folks don't know about that,
That's
but
incredible.
we've done that here in our state, and it's just an opportunity for our youth to get engaged and get excited because a lot of them feel like they're just a placeholder or like just just a number to put on a screen, but in reality they have all the power in the world.
Yes.
We just got to figure out how to connect those dots and make those voices elevated. But I think like what we've been waiting on as a community, we've been waiting on leaders to lead us.
Okay.
Yeah.
When in reality, I don't think it's the movements of the old where you had like the faces of like movements. I think the new side of what a movement stands for, it's empowering more and more people to realize the power was within them.
Yes.
Right.
And that's, I think, the power of this generation. Because I know we're millennials. And then, like, the generation that came after us was centennials. And then we got the Gen Alphas.
Gen Z.
The Gen C's or the
Gen Z
centennials.
and
And then the
then
Gen
Alphas.
Alphas
Yeah.
are, I think, my kids, right?
They're the youngest.
Yeah, they're the youngest. So I have a
Youngest are the
2-year-old and a newborn at home with my wife.
Aw.
And our newborn was born on Valentine's Day.
That's perfect.
And so it's just, it's a blessing. But I look at these 2 baby boys of mine, and I'm like, dude, I bring them to every single meeting I can. Like, I let them run around. I mean, especially a 2-year-old. I mean, he's just,
He's probably just happy.
you met him.
Yes, I
Oh,
did.
he's just, man, that little dude is phenomenal. But he has all this energy. But like, we gotta just like teach people like, hey, this is how you get civically engaged. And I like to say this, and I think it was Shirley Chisholm that said it. Some people probably said it before her. Just old school proverb, pretty much, that says, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Oh my goodness.
And so, like, if you're not at the table making these decisions,
That's so true.
you cannot be complaining about why this system doesn't do this, why this system doesn't do that. It's because you're not participating. They want you. You got to realize why they don't want you to participate in the first place.
Right.
Because they don't want you to have power and to be empowered. And
Exactly.
maybe think of ideas that
Yeah.
they wouldn't dare think of if they had no power.
Yeah.
It's
It's
crazy.
unbelievable. It's
It really
unbelievable. And people literally believe that. And so, the system only works for those who participate and those who wield their power. And, those who wield their power, a lot of times they have their own agenda. They got a lot of money. They got a lot of influence. But in reality, the people trumps the money every time. Every time. And we just got to get more and more folks excited. But it's not just about one election.
Right.
I think we fail to really let people know things happen very slowly in government.
Yes.
I think government, you can compare it to honey. It's slow but not as sweet, right? And so
Yeah.
it takes time, but you have to build on that momentum.
Yes.
And you might get frustrated in the process. You might get knocked down. But like I said before earlier in this conversation, it's about the persistence.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's about the consistency and the dedication and understanding that, hey, it might not change right now, but it will
Yes.
for the better. If you don't do anything, though, if you stay silent, By staying home and not voting, you're voting at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
You're still participating by not participating.
Yeah.
Right.
And because you're not participating, you're going to get
What you're gonna get,
whatever,
and it could be
Yeah.
a different outcome.
yeah.
It's
crazy.
People cared, so we have to get people out and registering and things like that. So
Yeah.
if there's anything we can do as a show, like
Yeah, for
please
sure.
let us know, like if we can. Is there anything we can do?
Yeah.
'Cause, you just want to help, but you don't know what to do.
Definitely.
Right.
So if you ever want to share information, hey, listen, there's this group, and we're going to do a drive, or we're going
Yeah.
to do registration. Just like let us know.
I love that. Yeah, we got a
Literally,
bunch of stuff
do
planned.
those. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so also in the month of June, if any of you would like to come back, we can, you can focus on a certain project that you want to talk about, or, something like that, whatever you'd like to. If you want to just talk about, your people that you have going through the program. And I love that they're going to be mentors and coaches,
Yeah.
because that's what they've seen,
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's powerful.
That's right.
That's
yeah,
true.
That's great. So yeah, I think we're just so lucky, and I think that there's a lot we can do, and I don't know. I just feel like I don't know where I read it, but something like, we're all just walking each other home,
Yes.
Mm.
and I love that. What do you think about that? Is that kind of we just want to make each other make things easier for each other?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely would agree with that. Piggybacking a little bit off of what he said,
Yeah.
what Donovan was saying, as far as getting people involved, I think a lot of people look at the legislative process or politics of government in general as some sort of mysterious entity.
Right.
And it's kind of like realizing not only how easy it is to get involved, because a lot of people don't know that you can come up to Lansing like this is the people's office. Like you can come up, visit your rep. They're there for you. It's very easy to get involved. All you got to do is just make that first step.
Okay.
Contact somebody. Like there's a lot of demystifying it. I feel like that just needs to happen. So that I feel
really
like that would
important.
help out a lot.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's like to be approachable, and it's all about accessibility, isn't it? There's so much like that. There's ways of getting the help that you need, and it's like we didn't know anybody, right? A couple of months ago.
That's right. That's right.
And showing them like how to navigate the process.
Very
A lot
much.
of times people like they're always asking like we want young people to vote, but I've been reading this book, The Promised Land by President Obama. It was just so crazy.
Wow.
He how he motivated entire people, and people were
Yes.
very, and like you said, like you just can't get focused on one election. But I was just like thinking about like man, he really went out with an inspiring message
Yes.
that pulled everyone together.
Very much.
And so I guess it's incumbent upon us. It's like how do we involve our young people into this process where they know like, hey, you have a voice.
Right.
I go to some of these meetings and it's the same people, and it's not saying I learned from working in politics early on that the people that may come to the meetings, that might not speak for everybody,
That's right.
That's very
But
So
they're
true.
there.
That's very true.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
They're just
And
the most vocal.
They're there, and then the media can take that and run with it. Like, oh, everybody was mad about this. When most people probably wouldn't be mad about it. And it blows my mind like, man, it's the same people.
Right.
So how do you involve them in a process that they've been, they have been deliberately cut out of?
Right.
Right.
So
Right.
how do you make sure that they are involved in making those decisions? And of course, it takes a lot of education. It takes a lot of patience.
Yes.
It takes really breaking it down for them. But we need to make sure that they're a part of the process because as people, it's the same thing like as we talked about church earlier, people in church are like, why don't young people be there? I'm like, well, why would they be there? They're not a part. They're not a
Right.
front.
Exactly.
What's
Yeah.
my purpose of coming to see and
Exactly.
listen? Like, that's not, no, they don't want to do it. So I think finding a way to get them involved in the process and letting them know, like he said, like you go up here, look at what they're voting on. How does this impact you?
Right.
Yep.
Right.
What would you like to see?
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
And you see how TikTok got their attention real quick when they said
Yeah.
about to shut down.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
What
yes.
we need to call. And
That's
I've seen
right. That's right.
things happen like that. I got an
That's
app
right.
that I follow a lot of my kids' location on Life 360. That's another one I've seen them get involved in.
Okay.
And they're all like, go rate that app the worst rating that you can get. And so I remember I seen something the app did. It said
That's
something like a
funny.
response to that, like, hey, the young people been doing this, ignore it. I'm like, man, that is a power. And how do we
It's a
take
power.
that
It is.
and run it? Because they have power.
Yeah.
You got to figure out a way
Mhm.
to use it, if it's something they
Right.
want from me. So.
Do you remember a couple of years ago, there was a whole bunch of people, I think they were like Reddit readers, and they all decided to, I guess, let
Stop.
GameStop
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
And some kind of, they bought Robin Hoods or whatever it was.
Yes.
And it was, it totally affected Wall Street. Like,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was this cataclysmic. And it was such a shock.
Yeah.
But that was young people.
That was
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
You know, and it's like, yeah, they should shake up Wall Street. Good
Yeah.
for you.
They should.
That's
We're all
right.
cheering
That's
for
right.
them, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
I think they prevented folks from buying the stock because
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
was just
yeah.
going
Wow.
People couldn't take their money out.
so. Yeah.
Yep.
It was
Yeah,
amazing.
and some of them
Yeah.
made like tens of thousands of dollars, and they were
Even
like,
more
"What do I
than
do
that.
with this?"
Yeah,
Like, they just
exactly.
never, right?
Exactly.
But you're happy for them because I think it's natural to cheer for the underdog.
Yeah.
Especially in Detroit, we
Absolutely.
really want
Oh, we're
to,
underdogs,
you know.
Yeah.
Come back and underdogs.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I remember. Have you ever heard Obama talk about his story about there was this really small little church, and so he was campaigning, and they booked this little church for him to go talk at, and like it's a presidential election. Usually there would be a much bigger
Yeah.
venue, right? So it was pouring rain and it was cold. And so he got to this church and he was just, wet and everything because it was horrible weather. And like the flight was delayed and all kinds of things were wrong, right? So he still made it to the church. There was maybe like something like 18 people there,
Wow.
right? And he was like, oh God, like, why did I come here, right? But there was this lady in the back, and she obviously had a lot of power and influence because she would just kind of randomly say something like, fired up, ready to go. And she would say that. And whenever she'd say that, they would respond. And so Barack was saying, I was really unhappy about being there, but I have to tell you, I was getting kind of fired up.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
And so we take what opportunity we have because we never
Yeah.
know what's on the other side of it.
He talks about that in his book too.
That's
Really,
right.
I
That's
hope
right.
so
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he tells the story better than anybody.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
I
but
didn't hear
like,
the first part what you said, but then
yeah,
when you got
you
into
know what
it,
I'm
I was like,
talking
oh, yeah,
about,
tell that
and
story.
it's like fired up, ready to
Wow.
go.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah.
true. Like
Yeah.
that's
She had
a
how
lot of
we want to be.
power.
Yes.
in that
Yes.
community. That was another
Exactly.
thing. So whenever
Yes.
she said that, they all would like repeat after.
They would all.
And
Wow.
that's how if you see on his campaign, last campaign sauce, he'd do the fired up, ready to go.
Ready to go.
And he got that from her. Yeah.
One little church, one
That's
lady,
amazing.
and like she
Yeah.
ends up in his book, and like you know what I
Wow.
mean? It's like our
Yeah.
kids, like we don't know how far they're gonna take
sure.
things, and but yeah, it's all about like creating opportunities and having them feel like you have a right to be here.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
That's right.
We need you. We need
That's
your
right.
talents,
That's right.
And I think that, too, like AI is kind of a cool thing where
Yeah.
it's kind of like lowering the bar to entry
Mhm.
because, like a 15-year-old could probably do an AI agency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And many of them are. And they're so good at like, let me read this situation. And, if we do this in this way, okay, AI, create it. And maybe make sure that there, you have copyright laws and things like that you're taking care of.
Yeah.
But like, look at what they can create
Mm-hmm.
without a 20-team marketing agency. It could just be
Right.
one person who understands the process and who's just experimenting, right?
Yes.
Like Jeff Bezos says, like I've had so many failures, but I've always felt comfortable experimenting because you have to sometimes fail, and you sometimes learn more from your failures than you do,
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think that they have a lot in their favor, and
Absolutely.
right,
Yeah.
and it's a kind of a good time for them because it isn't like they have to have a lot of money and connections and degrees and all. They don't always
Exactly.
have to. They can start where they are, right?
They can start exactly where they are. And it's just about empowering them. Let them know they mean something. I think that's all they really want is to know that they mean something. Stop judging me based on how I look or how I act or,
Right.
but what is inside of me. What kind of help do I need? We don't even know the situations that our youth are dealing with. He said they go through a lot of stuff,
Yes.
way more than what we did coming up. And, we so busy judging them that there's nobody reaching out to say, no, let me pull you up.
Yeah.
You can do this. you know. And so I think if we stop that mindset and give them a different type of mindset, then they can also take that back to the community and change how they perceive things.
I think your years of teaching has given you a lot of insight about how to reach them.
Yeah.
And so do you think that comes when you're coaching them and things like that? Do you think that that's really prepared you to relate to them?
Yes, and then I don't think it's just the teaching part because, like you know, teachers are limited, right?
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
we're limited. I took that out. I mean, I was like, no, y'all not keeping me in no classroom. I need to get some resources out here, and I just always, even in my years of teaching, I was always trying to give something. If it wasn't a health fair, it was something. We need to involve the community because they need to see that they matter. And so they used to just get so mad at me, like, why is she always doing something? Like, always out here. And, you know, even when I was a resource specialist, oh my God, that was the highlight of my life, to be able to go into these homes and get these families to be comfortable enough to share their needs with me, but not just share their needs. I was networking everywhere. I mean, let them need something. Let me walk in that door. I'm like, oh, they need this? You know, I was calling friends and family, and, you know, I was going outside of what the school provided, right?
Right.
And so I think it's that kind of passion to really care. And when people see you care, then they like, oh, wow, she really do care about us, you know? And you have to work on the need that they have right then, right?
Right.
Because if they hungry, nothing else you talking about mean anything,
Absolutely.
right? I need to get them some food first. And like I would go in there with all these resources, right? And they looking at me like I'm crazy. I just need some food right now.
Exactly.
Can you get me some food? And then you can talk to me about what else you can do for me,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And so we just have to learn to slow it down, you know, look at what they need right there. Let's let them know we care, share that. And I think that's what really did it for me. It was just my passion to
that
make
time
sure.
and energy is so important.
Yeah.
You know? Like it was just something she's saying. You know, some of the work I do is like with ceasefire, and like some of the kids, I mean, what they go through is just it's heartbreaking. You know,
It is. You're right.
I was telling someone of a scene I went to a few years back where a 11-year-old had got killed. You know, she was playing a game with her nieces, not with her nieces, but with her cousins.
Her cousins, yeah.
And they watched her die, you know? Then someone shot into the house, and they watched her die. And I remember going up to the scene, like what ceasefire does, we go out, we respond. We try to comfort the family, you know, try to get them the resources, whatever they might need. But, you know, I looked at those kids that was in the room with her, and I said, they are going to be angry for a very long time.
Yes, that's true.
And, you know, people are going to wonder, like, why you don't want to do your schoolwork?
Right.
Why don't you want to listen to me?
Right.
And they don't even
So
know
true.
the half of what they had to
Exactly.
witness. And so
Exactly.
I think it's so important, like she said, like, you gotta, like, they don't want to hear about what you're talking about until they know how much you care. They don't care.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
that's the biggest thing. And like, they're not trying to, a lot of people, you want to put their own agenda on them. You know, so that's not, you know, that's not how you reach a young person. You have to really understand what their needs are. And based on what we've been saying since the beginning of the conversation, like if you look at the biblical times, God went and healed. He met their needs
That's
right.
before he
That's
ever,
right.
you know, delivered a sermon, talked to them. He always met their needs first.
Right.
And it's the same thing with young people now. You have to make sure that you're meeting their needs.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so important.
It is.
Yeah, it's like the loaves and the fishes had to come before the sermon.
Yeah.
No one's
My
going to
stomach growling. You preaching.
Yeah, exactly. That's nice,
That's
Jesus,
true.
you know.
But that's true. It is.
Do you have any stories about, like, I don't know, how you maybe, how did you find it in yourself? Like, because you could have just gone through your life just quiet and just done, you know, what you should have done. Like, how did you know that you were destined for, like, to be a mentor, to be an inspiration?
Sure. I tell people all the time, I tell my kids all the time, I could be a lot more money, have a lot more money right now.
Yeah.
A lot more time on my hands. Because like I said, like I believe in it throughout, like through and through. So like if you ever
That's
see
true.
me, always got my young people with me. I love
you
having
do.
them. I love showing them my life. And because I feel like that example is so important. And I got that when I was like the first kids I ever mentored. I will never forget. Like I was playing like gospel music. And
Right.
at first I was like, cut that off. I'm like, what's wrong? And within like a month, they were singing the songs.
There you go.
It blew my mind. I could not.
My
I'm like, wow.
goodness.
But if you know my story, I got kicked out of 13 schools. So everybody, anything that could have happened to me in a school, it happened, right? Fights, getting into it with the teachers.
Good Lord.
Yeah, so it's like everything that could have been said to me, like, oh, boy, we'll see you at the graveyard, like all type of crazy stuff I used to hear.
Wow.
Like, you won't make it, but I think, like, I ended up going to a school called Oakwood University, and it just changed my life and my perspective.
Wow.
It said, enter to learn, depart to serve. And it taught me,
That's
like,
beautiful.
when you come here, you're going to be soaking in all this. And which I always tell my kids, like, the caught up way is the Oakwood way, because Oakwood, I felt loved. I felt like people cared about you.
Yeah.
They took out their time to help you.
Wow.
And that, they just changed. I couldn't believe it. So whenever they come to caught up, I'm like, no kid should ever feel alone here.
Wow.
And that's how I felt at Oakwood. Like, no kid should ever feel alone. You all should be able to hold each other accountable, show them love. Like, and that's really the gist of it. And that's what I got. I saw that, and I wanted to bring it back to a city, that needs it. Because a lot of these kids, they go through a lot,
Yes.
It's a shame what they go
Yes.
through.
And one thing that Tucson does with this Caught Up organization is take those students to Oakwood
Oh, yeah, for sure.
every year, man. And I'm forever grateful, man, for that.
Yes.
Just to provide that opportunity and expand just their mindset.
Right.
Because a lot of kids, you'll be surprised how many of our students, not just in Detroit, but in the metro region,
Yeah.
who, if you ask them, have you ever been to the Riverwalk, downtown Detroit?
And they
Have you ever been to Belle Isle? Have you ever even been across the Detroit River to a whole nother country? A lot of folks don't even understand it's a whole nother country.
True.
We're the only region in the whole world that's north of Canada.
That's incredible.
Like, that is unbelievable. Detroit is. And it's right next door to us. And so, like, having those opportunities to expand, having those experiences. T-Night, man, I love you for that, brother.
Yes.
When you were talking, I thought about a story. I'm not sure if people remember
Yeah.
former Congressman Adam Clayton Powell Jr.
Okay.
Out of New York. His dad, Adam Clayton Powell, was the pastor during the time of the Great Depression.
Oh my
And so as a kid, he would grow up serving the community, right? And by the time he rose to ranks and got old enough to run for office, he actually went down in history. He never had to raise one dime to run for office because people remember him as a kid serving those meals.
Wow.
Like, when we talk about service,
Yeah.
before we ask somebody to go vote for you, before we ask somebody to, hey, listen to your sermon or listen to what you got to offer, you have to provide that service to fill that immediate need for folks. And he was feeding people, housing people, clothing people, him and his family and the church community. And he ran for years. And, of course, he had a checkered past to some degree when it came to, I guess people did not like him as a congressman to some degree.
Yeah.
But inside of his own district, dude, he never had to campaign, not
My
one time.
goodness. Like,
Wow.
what?
He even told folks, don't even vote for me. They put his butt on the ballot.
Wow.
That's
Like, literally, like
incredible.
that's the type of service
That's right.
I would like to not have to spend money to go campaign. That would be great. But, I'm serving the community, but I haven't done my due diligence in terms of serving everybody.
Yeah.
But, he was there with his family at a time. That need was so high that people remembered him and voted for him every time.
Wow.
Didn't have to spend one dime to go campaign.
It's
phenomenal.
At the end of Gladiator, when they sort of say, I'll carry him.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They were like, it was like an honor to carry him. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, because it's just leadership. It's
It's important.
Yeah.
It's important. And even in the schools, like, I think that's what made me really want to do what I do, because just to watch the kids, and especially, and I'm not trying to be funny, our culture you have to know our culture, right? You can't teach our kids if you don't know what they go
So
through.
true.
And
Yeah,
what
so
they do is they diagnose them with behavior issues
Right.
and all of this kind of stuff, and it used to burn me up. I'm like, oh my God, it's not a behavior issue. You don't even know what the child going through. I mean, I'm out here, I see what they're going through, right?
Exactly.
And no, that's not helping them. Now you labeled them.
Now you've
right?
labeled
Now
them.
you just put a label on them. So all they got to deal with this label that you just put on them instead of trying to figure out what they need, right?
Yes.
And so I think that's what really, we just have to change how because being a teacher, like they said, it can make or break you, right? Depending on what you put in their heads. If you tell them some negative stuff, guess what? They're going to grow up thinking that's what they are, right? But if you empower them, they're going to grow up thinking they're empowered. And so we just have to change the perception of how we do things, not just with us, but across the board, to really get our young people. And they're the next leaders, right? I mean, like, do people understand they're the next leaders? Like, if we don't train them, what are they going to do, right?
Yep.
Do you have a vision for what you'd like to bring about?
Yeah, so like I guess mine is a little bit more. Well, it's on the same order as everything, but I would love to start a resurgence of like workforce development, like straight from school to apprenticeships, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Because like she was saying, that hands-on learning. The high school I went to, University Preparatory High School, so it was a public charter school.
Okay.
But one of the mandatory requirements was that we had job shadows and internships. So 2 days out the week, we would shadow somebody in our, ideal career field to kind of, set us on that trajectory. So I feel like that disconnect between students and just people who are out here in the real world, adults and stuff, like nobody's trying. Well, I won't say nobody. There aren't enough people trying to bridge that gap. It's kind of like leave them to their own devices once they graduate high school to figure stuff out instead of trying to, reach back while they're still in kind of like a not shelter, but like a safe zone to figure stuff out and then go out into the world.
And they have time to maybe talk to people who might be in the field or things like that. You know how they used to be like you'd have different people on career day kind of thing. They come in and talk about their careers and that kind of thing. But actually being in an environment, it's you don't really kind of know what it is to work in a place until you've kind of worked there and done it a little while, like even a few months. And so it's kind of unfair to ask children, or kids to, hey, what do you want to be if you've never, like, where are you ever going to have the opportunity to try this thing out for 3 months?
Exactly.
Right.
Like, look at the connections you'd have to even work in an office. Like, if you want to be an engineer, how are you going to get any kind of feeling of what the job is like on day to day, right?
Exactly.
Because you can't just go to work with some engineer. But I think that there's a lot that schools can do, and work study programs. They're a good idea. And often the kids that get paired often get offered jobs full time when they're all done.
Yeah, that's why at the state we're supporting CTE initiatives, career technical education.
Very good.
Macomb County does a great job at this. I mean, they've been doing it for decades.
Wow.
And I'm a little jealous because I'm out of Detroit. But I represent part of Macomb County, too. And,
excellent.
But, like, they have the biggest CTE career program in the state.
Oh, my
It is
God.
phenomenal. And they have, like, it's usually, like, a national CTE day. But they have, like, a week-long series of events where, like, they take all the kids out of school and, like, whoever wants to participate, and they, job shadow and do whatever.
Wow.
It can be engineer. And people don't really recognize this. Michigan is home to the most engineers in the nation.
Wow.
People don't even realize that.
Wow.
Because of the big three, all this parts and suppliers and all that. Yeah. Like, Michigan has a lot to offer. I know my young people, I talk to them day to day. I travel across the state. A lot of them want to leave the state, which understandable. We're working on, mobility issues. That is your public transit, something that this younger generation, they want to be able to live in walkable cities that are connected. We have great cities in Michigan. It's just not together.
Right.
And so that's what we need to work on at the state to fill in those gaps. But more importantly, these kids need to realize, like, we home to the Great Lakes. Like, this is a great state that you can earn a living in.
Yes.
You can own a home free and clear. Like, it's not as expensive as other states, but it is a place where if you want to start anything, you can start here. And we don't have a bench for it. You can go right ahead and be the leader, be the founder, be whatever you want to dream of. In other states and other areas, you have to wait your turn.
Wow.
In Michigan, it's kind of like, hey, whatever you want to do, man, go right ahead and do it. Like, we need somebody for this. It's a great place.
It's a great place.
Yeah, for ingenuity and creativity, and that's why I love it here. I love it here.
I'm Canadian. I grew up in Toronto.
What? I didn't know that. T-Dot. Okay. T-Dot.
But Toronto, you can't afford a house, and Rochester Hills, and Oak Park, you can so and that's a big deal because if you think you're never ever gonna have a house ever, it's sort of like you sort of feel like a bit defeated before you even begun, right?
Yep.
And so. Yeah, it's amazing. I think that, I went to a kind of a creator con a couple months ago, and they had people like fashion design, podcasting. There was a couple of different industries, and they just it was at the Garden Theater.
Okay.
So it was nice because, any reason we have to bring people to Detroit, that's a good thing, right? And so it was just all different kinds of things. And, they had kind of like a sort of a paparazzi area, and they had where they have the names, like their logo, whatever.
Yeah.
You stand in front and you're interviewed or whatever. And it's just they just made that available to people so that they can oh yeah, I've never thought about doing that before. And it was cute too. They had these T-shirts that said all these different professions, and they were all crossed out. And then the last one was creator.
Wow.
And so it's what would you like to create? YouTube and all kinds of things that they can do. And it's, you can just start where you are in your room, and just kind of, what do I want to talk about? Or, it's there's so much available to the young people that, they don't have to really, I don't know people and get a job somewhere. You could actually just make a living sometimes by doing things, like surveys, or you could do just different things, transcription and things like that you can actually do at home.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just a matter of getting the information out to people, especially government, because it is kind of intimidating to know how to, even student loans, who do you call and how do you find out, and right, what's available to us.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Right. And then making sure they have the supplies. You'd be surprised how many kids don't have computers or don't have phones. Or It's easy to say, we have all this stuff available to them.
They may not.
But they may not,
They
right?
may not,
and so they're still left behind, right? They're still angry because they don't have the resources or the tools that are necessary. I remember even growing up, when we grew up, it's all these gangs, right? And families, 25 people in the family. How many people? How do you have 25? And they would beat you up every day, right? And I would run back to the school because you get so tired of getting beat up. And the school literally would lock the door.
So you were outside the door as you wanted
trying to get in, help me. And they would lock the door. So, living in low income communities, it's different.
It's a whole
different.
thing.
And people don't understand what you have to go through. So you can't very well tell me that I can do this if you're not providing what I need to do it, right? And so that's where I felt my passion came in, because honestly, it's no, this is not right. We don't have what it takes to survive. And why are we left out? So it's my job to make sure they get it, right?
I love it.
So what are your plans with T-Nights? What are your plans?
My plan is to just make sure that these young men succeed, right?
Excellent.
That they feel empowered, that they know that they can do whatever it is that they want to, and now they do. Because like I said, when I went back to them after that field trip, it was just a whole bulb opened up in their heads. Wow, thank you. You really do care about us. You really want us. And like you said, that's all they need to know. And I think if they, if you just stay on them, because boys are different. Now, it's God shifts me, right? First it was adults, right, that I thought needed me. And then it was the youth Oh no, now it's the young men. Now I am so passionate about this because there's so many programs for women. Like I'm so tired of empower women, empower women, empower women. Empower.
Right.
What happened? Why did we leave the men out? Like God is showing me. This is why men and women are so different because somewhere it was a divide.
Yes.
In the system. We want our men to be the leaders, but we don't want to teach them how to be the leaders, right? And it's just like, no, there's something that's a little off here. So now I think they need us, and so
Absolutely.
yeah, it's the men, it's the young men. They need us because they need that direction. They don't have that mindset like we do. They don't process the same, right? So they need to be able to, see that things can happen for them. And they don't have to go out here and get in gangs and crowds.
Do you also
and
tell
all
them
of
about
those other
things like apprenticeships? Because we have a great
Oh,
need
yeah.
for like electricians and
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
you know,
exactly.
like we
Major.
don't want the older people, and once they die, like those professions die with them. No, like there
Yeah.
has to be.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You know.
2/3 of all licensed, home builders that have those contractors who are licensed. I think 2/3 of them in the state are 55 and up.
Wow.
Yes.
So like we have there's
So it's real.
there's
yeah.
major
It's
need
real.
right now
It's real.
for the
It's
young
real.
people to come in into the building trades and get these jobs, and you can make an honest, great living off of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
But like I was listening to a sermon while you were talking. I was listening to a sermon about kind of like if you get aggravated at something, right? Whether it's like, man, you know what? I wish they would clean our parks or clean our streets better. I wish our schools was better. And you go out there and complain to everybody. I was listening to a sermon and the preacher talked about how, well, that's really God's way of showing you what you actually need to do. If it's aggravating you that much
That's right. That's right.
for you to go out your way to go complain,
That's right.
that means is you have the opportunity right now. God's giving you in your spirit to go attack that problem,
That's right. That's right.
to go fix it, to go solve it, to go work on it. And so we typically, we like to complain about everything, but we don't want to try to help or try to, lend our, expertise or our talents to try to, help solve that issue.
Right.
And that it's a service, it's a sacrifice, it's a labor of love. My grandmother raised me on the quote. She used to tell me, Donovan, no matter what happens in life, she used to tell me two things.
Okay.
There will always be people better off than you.
Yes.
There will always be people worse off than you.
Right.
So you got to count your blessings every day that you wake up because you got your health. You got a roof over your head. You have food. We're all crazy on the spectrum, but at least you can put 2 to 2 together and get your day going.
Right.
We're all crazy on the spectrum.
Yeah.
But the second thing she used to tell me was, no matter what happens in your life, never forget the urge to give. Never fight the urge to give. Never fight the urge to give.
beautiful.
So, like, I put that on my first piece of literature when I ever ran for office to pay homage to her. And, like, that's how I live my life. Like, if somebody needs some help, like, and if I have that urge in me, sometimes we try to suppress it. No, go help your fellow community member, your fellow sister, your fellow brother, whoever it may be, kid, adult, senior, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Go help.
Right now.
Yeah, go help.
That's right.
And I know these phones, man, they create a system where nobody wants to talk to each other. Everybody's, a little afraid of each other. No, we got to break those barriers.
Yes.
Yes.
We have to.
Yes.
It's who's going to take care of us but us.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Definitely. Yeah, and God gives us a vision. These are my children. Will you help them?
That's right.
And it's true. You feel it in your heart. You're like,
Yeah.
like you actually care about people and want to, make a difference.
Yes.
Thank you so much for caring so much, each of you, for our young people. And you're all so welcome to come back if there's any launch you want to do or project, or if we want to, do some kind of anything like something you'd like to start. I fully support you all. Thank you.
For sure.
You're welcome.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And for caring. It's such a pleasure to meet you all.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Toronto. I love it.
Toronto.
T-Dot.